I still remember the sound of the wind that night. It wasn't like the storms I'd grown up with. This one felt angry, like it was searching for something to destroy. I was alone in that old beach house, watching the shutters rattle, wondering if I'd made a mistake coming here. I'd rented the place to escape, to think, to figure out why my life felt like it was standing still while everyone else moved forward. I didn't know she was next door until I heard the scream. It was faint, barely audible over the howling wind, but I heard it. I grabbed my flashlight and ran outside, rain cutting into my skin like tiny knives. The house next to mine had a tree branch through the window, glass everywhere. And there she was, standing in the doorway, soaking wet, holding a blanket around her shoulders. She looked at me like I was the last person she expected to see. "Are you okay?" I shouted over the storm. She nodded, but her hands were shaking. "I can't stay here. The window—" "Come with me," I said, not thinking, just reacting. She hesitated. I could see it in her eyes. She didn't know me. I was a stranger. But the wind picked up again, and she made her choice. We ran back to my house together. Inside, she stood in the middle of my living room, dripping water onto the floor, still clutching that blanket. It was old, faded, with little stars printed on it, the kind you'd give to a child. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice small. "I didn't mean to—" "Don't apologize. It's a hurricane. You're not supposed to be alone in a hurricane." She gave me a weak smile. "Neither are you." I handed her a towel, made her sit down, and put on a pot of coffee. The power was still on, but I knew it wouldn't last. We sat there in the dim light, listening to the storm tear through the night, and I realized I didn't even know her name. "I'm Ethan," I said. "Claire," she replied, wrapping the blanket tighter around herself. We didn't talk much that first hour, just sat there, two strangers waiting for the world to stop shaking. But then the power went out, and in the darkness, something shifted. She started talking. She told me she'd come here to get away from her life, from a job that drained her, from a breakup that still hurt, from people who kept asking her when she'd move on, like grief had a timer. I understood that I'd come here for the same reason, that I was tired of pretending I had it all figured out. We talked until the storm calmed, until the wind became a whisper, and when the silence finally came, I realized I didn't want her to leave. But she did. The next morning, the sun came out like nothing had happened. Claire thanked me, said she'd get her window fixed, and walked back to her house with that same blanket still wrapped around her. I thought that was it. But that evening, she knocked on my door. "I made too much pasta," she said, holding a container. "Thought you might be hungry." I wasn't, but I invited her in anyway. That became our routine. She'd bring food, I'd make coffee. We'd sit on the porch and watch the ocean. And every time she had that blanket with her. I didn't ask about it at first. It felt too personal. But one night, after she'd had a little too much wine, she told me. "It was my daughter's," she said quietly. I froze. She'd never mentioned a daughter. "She was 3, Claire continued, staring out at the water. "Car accident, 5 years ago." I didn't know what to say. What could I say? "This blanket was in the car with her," she whispered. "It's all I have left that still smells like her." I felt something crack inside my chest. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "I know it's stupid. I know I should let it go, but I can't." "It's not stupid," I said, my voice rough. "It's love." She cried into my shoulder that night, and I held her, feeling the weight of her grief, understanding for the first time that some losses never heal. They just become part of who you are. After that night, something changed between us. We stopped pretending we were just neighbors. We'd spend entire days together, walking on the beach, cooking meals, talking about everything and nothing. She made me laugh in ways I'd forgotten I could, and I made her feel safe. But the blanket was always there. She'd bring it to the beach, wrap herself in it when we watched movies, sleep with it every night. And I never said anything because I understood. That blanket wasn't just fabric. It was her daughter, her past, her pain. I started falling for her. I didn't plan it, didn't want it, but it happened anyway. In the way she smiled when she thought I wasn't looking, in the way she'd rest her head on my shoulder without thinking, in the way she trusted me with her broken pieces. One night, I almost told her. We were sitting on the porch, the stars bright overhead, and she was wrapped in that blanket. She looked so peaceful, so beautiful. "Claire," I started. She turned to me and I saw something in her eyes, something that made me think she already knew. But I didn't say it, because I was scared. Scared that loving her meant competing with a ghost. Scared that I'd never be enough. Scared that she'd choose her grief over me. So I stayed quiet, and she let me. The summer ended. My rental was up. I had to go back to my life, back to my job, back to my empty apartment in the city. I told Claire a week before I was supposed to leave. She didn't cry. She just nodded. "I knew this wasn't permanent," she said softly. "It doesn't have to end," I said. "You could come with me, or I could stay. We could figure it out." She looked down at the blanket in her lap. "I can't leave, Ethan." "Why not?" "Because she's here," she whispered. "This is where we spent our last summer. This is where I feel close to her. If I leave, I lose that." I wanted to argue, to tell her that her daughter wasn't in this place, that she was in her heart, that she could carry her anywhere. But I didn't, because I realized that grief doesn't follow logic. It follows feeling. "Then I'll stay," I said. She shook her head. "You have a life to get back to. I can't ask you to give that up for me." "You're not asking. I'm offering." She reached for my hand, her fingers cold. "You'd regret it. Eventually, you'd resent me, and I couldn't live with that." I wanted to tell her she was wrong, but deep down, I wondered if she was right. The night before I left, we didn't talk about it. We just sat together, her head on my chest, the blanket wrapped around us both. I memorized the way she felt, the way she smelled, the way she breathed. "I love you," I finally said. She didn't respond, but I felt her fingers tighten around mine. When I woke up the next morning, she was gone. I packed my things, loaded the car, and drove to her house one last time. I knocked. No answer. I waited. Nothing. I left a note under her door. "Whenever you're ready, I'll be waiting." I didn't know if she'd ever come. Months passed. I went back to work, back to my routine, back to my life. But nothing felt the same. I thought about her every day, wondered if she was okay, if she still slept with that blanket, if she ever thought about me. Then one cold November night, my phone rang. It was her. "Claire?" she said, and I could hear the tears in her voice. "What's wrong?" "I washed it," she whispered. I didn't understand at first. "Washed what?" "The blanket. I washed it, and now it doesn't smell like her anymore." My heart broke. "I panicked," she continued, sobbing. "I tried everything to get the smell back, but it's gone. She's gone, and I don't know what to do." "Claire, she can't do this anymore," she said, her voice breaking. "I can't keep living in the past. I can't keep holding on to something that's already gone. I'm so tired, Ethan. I'm so tired of being sad." I closed my eyes, feeling every word like a wound. "I need you," she whispered. "I don't know if I deserve you, but I need you." I didn't hesitate. "I'm coming." I drove through the night, 6 hours straight. When I got to her house, she was sitting on the porch, wrapped in that blanket, her eyes red and swollen. I sat down beside her, didn't say a word, just held her. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Scared that if I let her go, I'll forget her." You won't, I said firmly. She's part of you. She always will be. But you can't live your whole life in a memory, Claire. You deserve to be happy again. She looked at me, searching my face. Do you really believe that? I do. She leaned into me, and we sat there as the sun came up, the blanket wrapped around us both. She didn't let it go that day, or the next, but slowly, over time, she started to. She'd leave it at home when we went out. She'd fold it and put it away instead of carrying it everywhere. She'd sleep without it some nights. And one day, she packed it in a box. I'm not throwing it away, she said. I'm just putting it somewhere safe. I kissed her forehead. That's enough. We moved in together, built a life. She still has hard days, days where she pulls out the box